So first we have Professor Ahmed Murad, Associate Provost for Research at UAE University. With a rich background in hydrology and water resources, Professor Murad brings over a decade of academic experience and leadership in research and innovation. His extensive involvement in various committees and advisory boards, both nationally and internationally, reflects his commitment to advancing knowledge and driving impactful change in society. Joining Professor Murad, we have Dr. Hamad Jassmi, a leading researcher, expert, and practitioner in the field of transportation. Dr. Jassmi has more than 15 years of industry experience in which he was directly involved in numerous high-profile research and consultancy projects. The projects related to life cycle assessment of a surface transportation projects, mobility policy making, transportation planning, and traffic safety. Together, Professor Murad and Dr. Jassmi bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise that promises to illuminate the pathway towards a more sustainable and dynamic future for education and workforce development in the era of mobility and innovation. Without further ado, let's dive into our discussion and explore opportunities and challenges ahead in shaping the future of education and workforce for sustainable mobility. Hello, Professor Murad. So the first question is for you. You have been in academia for around 2 decades, and surely you have seen a lot of changes in the UAE's industry academic landscape. Could you please tell us how are higher institutes different today from they were in the past?
Today, we are seeing that as we are dealing with higher education and rapid changes even in higher education, in addition to the knowledge, we see that skills are very important. You see the knowledge of the students in higher education. Look, for example, nowadays that research and innovation became important tool in any higher education in order to equip the student with the needed skill. Other important things related to the higher education ecosystem, globalization and internationalization. Globalization and internationalization is important now in order to strengthen the outcomes of innovation and even use the best practice and cascade it in our higher education. Emerging technology, consider one of the important tools that I think used intensively nowadays by the higher education in the UAE in order to be used as a tool to address all the challenges related to the research. In conclusion, research with other skills will be very important tool in order to shape the workforce, I think, in the UAE. All of us admit that, admit that artificial intelligence is an important tool. And this is what we are doing now in higher education. Intelligence as a tool to understand any aspects related to higher education.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Jassmi, Emirates Center for Mobility Research was established back in 2004. And it's the first research center in UAE specializing in transportation and mobility. So could you tell us a bit more about the center's history and how it evolved to become an active contributor to the country's readiness for sustainable mobility?
Yes, I would like to thank you for moderating this session, and thanks to the audience for joining us. As Dr. Ahmed said, now the tendency of future mobility or any sector is to focus on skills, and skill comes through at universities. Students acquire the skills through research as well as teaching activities. Now, has started. UAE University was established in 1976 as a purely teaching university. At that time, we didn't have universities in the country at all. So the mandate was to graduate engineers, doctors, and all the specializations that the country needed. In the last 2 decades, we moved towards becoming research intensive. So this center at UAE University. It was not only the first center at UAE University, but first research center in the country. And luckily it was specializing in the transportation sector. So it started as, there was like a really interesting story behind it. There was an accident. At that time, there was a car called Holden, and it was very cheap, but very powerful too. So the government here had a concern that this car is unsafe. We have to ban it. And there was a big accident where the driver has been killed in that accident. So there was discussions that this car should be banned. But then the General Motors company, they wanted to prove that the car was safe. So they dedicated large funding to do research on vehicle safety. So they approached us, and with this funding to do that investigation. And that was the beginning of the establishment of that research center in 2004. And it happened to be that it's not about the car. The driver was driving at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour, and definitely, any accident at that speed would be a fatal accident. So it started as like a traffic safety. So this shows how, sometimes disasters really drives the move towards good things. So this research center was established. It started as focusing on mainly traffic safety. It was called Roadway Transportation and Traffic Safety Research Center. But, with the tendency towards, all the challenges that are facing the sector, now it is called Emirates Center for Mobility Research. So the center now consists of 5 groups covering a wide spectrum of expertise, all targeting the mobility sector. And we have researchers from various disciplines, and that's the merit of having a research center under a comprehensive university where you have, people, not just engineers and computer scientists, but you also have, people from humanities, from medicine. Sometimes there are involvement from all disciplines in the various topics that we cover in the mobility sector. For example, when we do in-depth crash analysis, we need, specialists in the medical field. We need psychologists. We need engineers. To automate, for example, unsafe driving behavior, we need computer scientists. We need AI specialists. All these are hosted by the university, and they mobilize in all our research projects whenever we need them.
Super interesting. So, Professor Murad, you have been actively involved in various committees and advisory boards related to water management and sustainability. How can interdisciplinary collaboration foster innovation in addressing the educational and workforce needs for sustainable mobility?
Thank you. This is an excellent question that related to the interdisciplinary. Nowadays, I think we should believe the importance of interdisciplinary interest, because we cannot work in isolation from engineer, from the science. For example, in higher education, now addressing all challenges from the collective way. A good example that happened, for example, from the last 2 weeks, studying climate change in the UAE. So this problem, for example, cannot be addressed only from one perspective related to the infrastructure. No, you need to collect all scientists, engineers, policymakers in order to come in one table, address all challenges related to different aspects of this challenge. Higher education in UAE implemented different structures in order, I think, to address all ecosystem in general in higher education in collective way. As I mentioned, I am scientist, and I cannot nowadays work in isolation from engineering. My background is hydrogeology. I cannot in isolation from the hydrologists that address the water-related issues from the perspective of, for example, chemical analysis, quality. I need the engineer to support me to identify how the water is moving from one area to another area using technology, using modeling. This collective approach has positive impact of the outcomes of the research. And that's even this excellent feedback from when we submit the paper for the publication. We receive always the feedback. So those feedbacks are always based on the information to the other perspective. So I mentioned there are many strategies in higher education to encourage interdisciplinary research, education, things. One of things related to the designing the curriculum. So the design of the curriculum now, for example, I'll give you example from UAE University. We have Master of Sustainability and Environment. In this program, we address all problems related to the environmental sustainability from different aspects, from agriculture perspective, from the engineer perspective, and from the science perspective. In addition to that, even policy scientists in order to support us and link the outcomes of the research with the problem. New opportunities for the job experience. Nowadays, for example, just mobility. DriftX is an example of the ecosystem that provide opportunity for higher education to link with them in order to place the student later on as internship opportunity. The internship opportunity now become more wider than the before. And that's the reason. The reason for that is because interdisciplinary approach to address the issues related, for example, in mobility. Other things is now higher education to encourage innovation and intervention. For example, you will find in many universities we have science and innovation park. A good example, I think, maybe the first science park that established in the UAE was in the United Arab Emirates University and was inaugurated by His Highness Sheikh Hamad Al Maktoum, Vice President of the nation, 2016. The purpose of this science park is to equip students to equip the student with the needed skill in order to be in order to find a job using the startup and using the different ecosystem. This is example of what we are do in higher education in order to encourage interdisciplinary.
Thank you, Professor Murad. So as we are running out of time, I have to end our discussion today. I want to thank our esteemed panelists, Professor Murad and Dr. Jassmi, for sharing your invaluable insight. We greatly appreciate your contribution to this insightful discussion. Thank you so much. If somebody have any question, the time is end. You can ask us after the discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you.